Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. On a quiet street, a mother carries her child in her arms, believing peace still belongs to her. But what happens when shadows rise from the silence? What choice does she have when fear surrounds every step? Tuna is suddenly confronted by a group of thieves, helpless, trembling, yet holding tightly to her child. Will her fragile strength be enough to shield the little one? Or will she have to rely on the man she once trusted, Alex? And the greatest question, will he come in time? This is not just a story of danger, but of choices, of silence, of hope hanging by a single thread. If you want to know how Tuna's fate unfolds, stay with me until the end. And don't forget, your support means the world to us. Please subscribe and help us reach 10,000 followers so we can continue sharing more unforgettable stories like this one. The street lay quiet beneath the golden weight of late afternoon light. Tuna walked slowly, cradling her child close, as if each step was an offering of protection. The breeze carried the faint scent of dust and grass, weaving through her hair like whispered secrets. In the rhythm of her footsteps, she felt a fragile calm, though somewhere deep within, the echoes of old choices lingered. Her heart often wandered back, toward roads untaken, faces half remembered, and the sharp ache of moments she could never reclaim. Yet here, in the curve of her child's small hand against her chest, she also found the steady pull of the present. The path was familiar, but her thoughts drifted beyond the edges of the street, toward Alex. His name lived silently in her mind, like a stone dropped into still water. With him, she had glimpsed the promise of shelter, the possibility of a quieter life. But behind her lay a past stitched with passion, reckless yet unforgettable, as though the very fire of her being had once burned brighter than the sun. The tension of those two worlds stretched inside her, pulling her in opposite directions. Her child stirred, soft eyes blinking in the light, unaware of the quiet war being waged within their mother. Tuna smiled faintly, though her gaze carried a shadow. She wondered, was peace a gift earned or merely borrowed until the storm returned? For now the silence seemed kind, the world suspended in fragile balance. And yet in that balance, she could already sense the tremor of something approaching. The silence of the street began to change, almost imperceptibly. Tuna felt it first, not in her ears, but in her chest. A quiet tightening, as though the air itself had grown heavier. Her footsteps slowed. The sound of her sandals against the pavement stretched out like hesitant notes in a forgotten song. Shadows lengthened on the ground, distorting into strange shapes, bending in ways that made her uneasy. She glanced around. The houses on either side seemed distant, their windows dark, like watchful eyes that chose not to see. The wind stirred again, sharper this time, sending a shiver across her skin. Her child shifted, letting out a small whimper, as if the little one too sensed the change. Tuna pressed the child closer, whispering a soft lullaby that carried no melody, only the trembling reassurance of a mother's voice. Her heart quickened. Somewhere behind her, a faint scrape echoed, metal against stone, or perhaps only her imagination. She turned. But the street stretched empty, a canvas painted with nothing but silence. Still, unease threaded through her veins, winding tighter with every step. In her mind, questions rose unbidden. Was she walking into danger? Or was this only the weight of her fears? Could peace ever last? Or was it always on the verge of breaking? Tuna kept moving, her eyes searching the horizon, her body taut with vigilance. Each moment felt longer than the last, and the fragile calm of before now seemed like a memory fading too quickly. The sound came suddenly, shattering the uneasy silence, a rush of footsteps, sharp and quick, breaking against the still air. Tuna froze. From the edges of the street, shadows detached themselves, forming into figures. A group of men emerged, their faces half hidden, their presence heavy with intent. The calm of moments before dissolved instantly, leaving only fear pounding in her veins. She clutched her child tighter, the warmth of the small body anchoring her against the rising tide of panic. One of the strangers moved closer, eyes glinting with something cold and merciless. The others circled, their laughter jagged and hollow, as if mocking the very fragility of her existence. The world that had felt so open a moment ago now shrank into a narrow space, where escape seemed distant and impossible. Tuna's breath came fast, shallow, her pulse echoing in her ears like war drums. She wanted to scream, yet her throat constricted, choked by the terror of what might come if she drew too much attention. Her child whimpered, the small sound cutting deeper than any threat, reminding her of the innocence she had to shield. The men closed in, their shadows swallowing hers. Every instinct urged her to run, yet her legs felt bound by invisible chains. Fear and determination collided in her chest, urging her to find strength where none remained. Above the noise, a single thought burned. Someone must come, someone must see. And in the blur of her fear, one name surfaced like a desperate prayer: Alex. Time fractured into fragments, each second stretching unbearably long. Tuna pressed her child against her chest, her trembling arms forming a fragile shield against the world that was collapsing around them. The men's voices grew louder, coarse and mocking, their steps closing in with cruel certainty. Fear crawled through her body like cold water, numbing her limbs, yet sharpening the desperation in her eyes. Her child began to cry, the sound piercing the night air, raw, innocent, and unbearably vulnerable. It echoed through the street, a cry not just of hunger or fear, but of life demanding to be spared. Tuna's heart broke at the sound, each sob striking like a dagger, forcing her to confront her own helplessness. She whispered broken words, promises that had no power but carried all the love she could give. "Hush, little one. It will be all right. It must be." But nothing felt certain. The world seemed to close in, leaving no path forward. Her mind raced, searching for escape, yet each imagined step ended as shadows. The strength in her body faltered, yet something deeper held her still. The fierce, unyielding will of a mother. She stood her ground, though her knees threatened to buckle, though her breath came ragged, though terror pressed against her like iron chains. And still, somewhere beyond fear, a single thread of hope lingered. She clung to it desperately, whispering it like a prayer. "Alex, if only you could see me now." In the chaos of fear, Tuna's mind reached for the only light she knew. Alex. His name rose like a fragile flame in the darkness, trembling but alive. She remembered his steady gaze, the way silence wrapped around him like armor, and how, in rare moments, that silence had offered her a strange peace. Now, in the grip of terror, his absence felt unbearable, as though the entire street echoed with the question of whether he would come. Her eyes darted to the distance, to the ends of the road where night deepened. She imagined him stepping out of the shadows, the rhythm of his footsteps breaking the circle of fear. The thought was almost enough to steady her breath. Almost. Yet reality pressed harder. The men moved closer, their intent sharpening like blades drawn too near. Still, Tuna held to the memory of Alex, as though her faith in him could manifest strength. Her heart whispered a bargain. If he comes, I will endure. If he does not, then this night may become my ending. Between those two extremes, she balanced on the edge of despair. Her child's small hand gripped her dress, pulling her back from the spiral of panic. She lowered her gaze to the little face, streaked with tears, and for an instant, she saw both fragility and the reason to keep standing. Yet her thoughts returned to Alex, whether he was running toward her at this very moment or still too far away. The silence of the road became unbearable, each second an eternity stretched by longing. The world around Tuna narrowed into a suffocating circle of shadows and sound. The men's footsteps scraped against the ground, deliberate, taunting, while her child's sobs broke like glass inside her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Yet the weight of the child in her arms bound her to stillness. Her legs trembled, caught between the primal urge to flee and the maternal need to shield. Her mind raced, each thought colliding with another. Should I cry out for help? Would anyone hear? Or would my voice only sharpen their cruelty? Silence, too, seemed dangerous, but breaking it might be fatal. It was a prison of choices, each one uncertain, each one carrying the same fear. Tuna lifted her gaze, eyes darting between the shifting figures and the endless stretch of road beyond. Somewhere out there, Alex might be moving closer, or perhaps not at all. She clung to that uncertainty like a drowning soul clings to driftwood, fragile, breakable, yet the only thing keeping her from surrendering to despair. Her breath quivered, her lips parted, but no sound emerged. Even the smallest action now felt monumental. A glance, a step, a pause. The tension was not in the clash of bodies, but in the suspended silence, where the next moment could tilt toward salvation or ruin. She tightened her hold on the child, whispering into the hair damp with tears. "Hold on, just hold on." And within her chest, the line between courage and terror blurred until they were one. The street fell into a silence so deep it seemed to swallow every sound. Tuna stood motionless, her child pressed tightly against her. Eyes closed as if the darkness itself could be kept at bay by sheer will. The men lingered close, their presence suffocating, yet time slowed until even their movements blurred. Each heartbeat felt like a hammer striking inside her chest, louder than the echoes around her. She could no longer tell whether she was breathing or holding her breath. The world had narrowed to a single question. Would rescue come, or was this the moment she must surrender to fate? In that silence, she let her mind drift to Alex again, his shadow, his strength, the possibility of him running down this very street. She wanted to believe he was near, wanted to believe the bond between them could cross distance and time. But all she had was the present, her trembling arms, her child's muffled cries, the sharp scent of fear in the night. No footsteps came to break the stillness. No voice cut through the dark. Only the fragile rhythm of her hope kept her from collapsing. Tuna opened her eyes, staring into the void ahead as if searching for a sign. None came. And yet, deep within, a realization grew. Sometimes life rests not on certainty, but on the fragile thread of faith. Whether Alex would come or not, She had already chosen to endure. Life, she thought, is measured in these suspended moments between terror and trust, despair and hope.
Tử Na bế con đi trên con đường quen thuộc, tưởng như bình yên nhưng trong lòng dấy lên bao suy tư. Giữa quá khứ và hiện tại, bóng chiều kéo dài, gió thổi lạnh, linh cảm bất an dần trỗi dậy. Bất ngờ một vụ cướp xuất hiện, cô vây lấy cô. Tử Na hoảng loạn run rẩy ôm chặt đứa bé, tiếng khóc xé tan không gian tĩnh lặng. Mỗi bước tiến của bọn chúng khiến thế giới quanh cô thu hẹp, để lại chỉ những nỗi sợ và tuyệt vọng. Trong khoảnh khắc, hình bóng Alex hiện lên trong tâm trí như niềm hy vọng mong manh. Liệu anh có đến kịp giải cứu? Câu hỏi bỡ ngỡ để lại dư âm ám ảnh. Cuộc sống nhiều khi chỉ đo bằng những khoảnh khắc giữa sự sợ hãi và hy vọng.